may be able to win on the first stage pummel if the weight is coming down hard enough, and this one creates a lot of forward weight in reference to him. On this side, he'll most likely have my tendon. That's where his arm should be attacking my tendon. And if he does that well, this shin grip won't last forever, but it'll last long enough for us to get the pummel on this side. Remember again the theory of creating space, because we'll have to contend, a smart guy, we're gonna have to contend with this arm. And he could have this arm in several different positions. He could have it on my bicep, a bit more risky in this scenario now. He could have it on the tendon, a little bit safer, or uber safe, he could have it basically on my chest, because he realizes that, oh, this is very common. I know what, Kyle knows what I'm gonna go for. All of those are fine. If he has it on my bicep, it's the same approach that we used when we had his head. It's arm goes flat. You know, it's I like to imagine like the chalk outlines. That's what I'm doing. I'm keeping my hand, my elbow high, my arm in a relatively straight line off my shoulder line, and the hand is beating the forearm first. Once the hand beats the forearm, once I've created my space, my elbow follows. So in this case, I was able to get my shin, and if he has my bicep, my hand falls first, I move my hips up, and then when we move our hips down, the elbow closes. And because of how forward I can keep him, it's often very, very difficult for him to win the inside again. It's not a far stretch for me to elbow pummel my arm over the top and start winning this position. And again, whatever you want. One caveat to having your shin is simple, is this. I'm flat on my back. It's very hard for me to move out to my left when the requirement for me to move out to my left is using my left leg. Remember, there are 3 ways to move our hips. Using stiff leg, using the floor, or using the hip. If I have control of my shin and he is experienced, it's quite difficult to move my hips out to the side. Now, I can start to shake my other leg, or our methods of like trying to, but it's not relatively easy. That doesn't matter, however, right? If when we get here, if we want to go to an overhook, you would secure your overhook, come up to the head or shoulder, and then move your hip. That's fine. You've really got them broken down well. Okay, so that's no problem. You can gain your angle if you want an angle. You can gain it after you've won the inside. Okay. In the case of if I wanted to lock a Williams guard, you can clear his head, which we'll look at later. I can clear his head with many different tools, even if I find myself flat on the back. I don't have to accept staying flat on my back. I can clear his head with various methods that we'll discuss later. So using the shin, once again, I was able to get my cross shin. Now, when you are using your shin, you don't have to keep your guard closed. I could, if I felt the need, and if he was driving excessively hard forward, I can use a foot on the hip too. I can put my right foot on the hip. I don't have to keep my guard closed. This closes my guard well enough. Okay? As long as I'm not putting my foot on the floor and leaving it there for him to step over, I can keep my foot on the hip and the knee tight. That doesn't matter. It's okay. Guard closed, totally fine too. I'm a big fan of keeping the foot on the hip, just because it keeps the weight under control a little bit, and he cannot drive as far forward. So, but it's totally up to you. Hand on the bicep, hand on the tendon, hand on the bicep. We looked at putting the hand down. If the hand's on the tendon, well, then we don't have to do that. So I'm not worried about my elbow position because he doesn't have control of my bicep. I just want to get my cougar paw worked underneath there, hip up, hip down, and then we get the hand to the inside. When we do get the hand to the inside, in this case, we can go over and we can start looking at clearing the head. Or I can look for overhooks and get my hip angle second. When we clear the inside, it's an important kind of note to take. In the beginning, sometimes I teach getting the inside with an excessively long arm, whether it's collar ties that I have, over ties, shin, and then really exaggerating my left arm. That is not going to happen when you have a good person. Anytime you take the inside, the more space that exists, the more I have to use what I like to call T-Rex hands, which is it's just a bent wrist like this. It's a wrist forward. The more I'm gonna have to use this inside tie with a bent elbow, I'll need to be very good at this. The reason why this is a good position from here is because it's very hard for him to re-pummel. I can keep my elbow by my hip. It's exceptionally difficult for him to re-pummel his arm. And then I call bringing my elbow over the top just an elbow pummel, but you know, it's not. You're not really pummeling anymore. It's just I'm keeping my elbow, drawing it over the top of his arm. You'll need that. The more space you have, the more you will need that very tight this T-Rex hand, I like to call it, but you'll need this inside tie with your elbow relative 90. That's a very strong position for me. If my elbow is 90 degrees, very, very strong. You'll need that because if I'm naive and I elongate my arm, he's just gonna pummel me. That opened up all the space. So you'll need this. In this case, you need it, just not quite as much as if I had more open space like we did when we controlled his head. So elbow comes over, it stays nice and tight, and now we're ready to start looking for our entries, which we'll take a look at later. All right, we're looking about using the skill of pummeling to get into our scenario where the arm is around my waist. So this one we're going to be using the shin control method, but he is just not letting my hand up the middle. So we're going to bridge, create some space with a bridge, and get our arm through the gap like that. This happens to be one of my favorites versus a very experienced passer that really understands pummeling or how to negate